first article is regarding the attack which is there in Sunjuwan. It's the army attack. It's a attack by the terrorist on the army base in Jammu, and so the issue is that the security protocol at military installations, because it has been seen right from the Pathankot airbase attack to Uri attack and to different attacks, that the attacks have been on the army, on the in fact the military installations. So the need is to, we have to upgrade the security, and that upgradation with respect to the security, it should be speedy in nature. So it's seen that the attack, which was on last Saturday by a small group of heavily armed terrorists that managed to enter the residential quarter of soldiers. This is the latest in series of attacks on military installations over the last few years, and it has been seen that these kind of attacks, they are basically on an increase. And yesterday we did an article with respect to what Mehbooba Mufti, the CM of Jammu and Kashmir, said that internal talks and dialogue process with Pakistan is required, because the kind of infiltration between along the LOC has increased, and the number of militants and militant attacks like this is on increase, despite being the fact that we have increased presence of police and army personnel. So definitely it's a matter of concern, and after Sunjuwan attack, it's definitely a more matter of concern, because now at times these military installations or the residential area of the military personnel, they are more vulnerable. Okay, and so this opens a question regarding the security of these areas. So the worrisome aspect is the repeated success of terrorists in infiltrating high security military complexes. Sanjuwan attack exposes the vulnerabilities in perimeter security. Means, if suppose this is a kind of military installation, then within this particular area, okay, this also is a matter of concern, the type of security which is there, okay, in the perimeter of this. So we should be more concerned about the vulnerabilities in perimeter security and the scant progress made in improving the security protocol. Why we are saying that scant progress, very less of the progress is made, because the attacks, they have not stopped. Okay, after the Pathankot Air Force Station attack in 2016, then we had major attacks in Uri, Handwara, Nagrota, Panjgam, and now in Sanjuwan. Okay, after the Pathankot attack, a committee headed by a former army Chief Lieutenant General Philip Campos, it was made, and it undertook a security audit of all military bases across the country, and it identifies certain sensitive installations and recommended measures to fortify them. So the recommendations of this committee was that whatever the sensitive military installations are there, we need to fortify them. Our security protocol should be strengthened enough so as to prevent any sort of this kind of attack. In July 2017, government in fact delegated substantial financial powers to the three services, Army, Navy and Air Force, to strengthen perimeter security at military installations. So this Sonjuwan attack, it basically opens a chapter, and it made us realize that there is a need for speedy measure on the ground beyond the inquiries and policy announcements. Means whatever the policy announcements made by the government is, or whatever the different committees are doing inquiry and then recommending something, more has to be done at the ground level. Okay, and a lot is to be after this terror attack, defense ministry sanctioned this much amount of money to strengthen sensitive military installations across the country. In fact, our present defense minister Nirmala Sitharaman has also directed the army to complete its implementation by the end of the year. And this impetus is welcome, because we are trying to speedily cover up the entire fortification of the military installations. And this impetus is welcome, but the implementation, it should be broad based. It should not be ad hoc measures. It should not be the case that just because the defense minister is saying, or just because it's the need of the time right now, so we are following a ad hoc mechanism, and just for the temporary basis, the number of, I mean, the deployment or number of soldiers or kind of technology which we are using, that is increased in that perimeter security. The solution should be permanent. Okay. And it should be it should be in our mind that any successful attack does not necessarily mean that soldier on the ground is lax, or is not performing his duty. It may be other reasons as well. For example, in this very case, many bases, see, along the border, the army bases which are along the border, they are in tough terrain, and they are in close proximity to civilian dwellings. So the issue with the soldiers is that if they have to face such kind of attack, and then crossfire will be there, so they have to keep in mind that there should be least civilian casualties. Okay. So this is also their problem. They cannot altogether jump on the terrorist and just attack and just start firing. Okay. They have to keep in mind the protection of these civilians as well. India still relies heavily on putting more boots on the ground and on the caliber of the soldier. Means, we try to be more dependent on the physical, input put by the soldier, but rather it's the time that we should make our soldier fully backed up by technology and calibrated security drills. So what is required is not only the physical and mental alertness of soldier, but we have to provide them enough technological support and as well as enough security drills so as to avoid these kind of further attacks. So this was all about this article. This article is from the Indian Express, and it's regarding the India's foreign policy, and written by Vitab Bhanu Mehta, and he's saying that India is in a dilemma. India is basically in a corner, and especially with respect to the Pakistan issue and vis-a-vis other nations, the foreign policy bluster is a great floundering. Okay, so in short, one can say that we are basically living in a bubble of foreign policy which is about to explode, because the things that have been highlighted with respect to the foreign policy and with respect to the foreign policy achievements right now, they are very narrow and they do not represent the real picture. Okay. So he's saying that India finds itself increasingly cornered in a strategic cul-de-sac. That means India is basically on a point. It's basically on a dead point. Okay. Dead end, or I should say a dead turning point. Okay. That it is finding no direction right now. And although India is trying to seek to its east via Act East policy, Look East policy, and then looking west as well, our Prime Minister visiting the Gulf nations. Okay, then these kind of things are happening, but the strategic space to address its core concerns does not seem to be expanding. But with respect to India's core concerns, okay, we are not seeing that enough is being done, or we are not seeing that there is basically any sort of expansion. We have to see that what are India's core concerns. Okay, so paradoxically right now India finds itself in this position that even as it is globally recognized, okay, it looks more helpless in its own backyard. Except this Bhutan and Bangladesh, India is not seen in a very good picture, be it Nepal, okay, over the Madhesis issue, then be it Pakistan, all time worry of India, be it China, be it Maldives right now. Okay, so India is having issues with each of its neighbor mostly. So if we say that there is strategic success of any government, then the hallmark for this strategic success would be that are we able to expand all those options which are basically required to to achieve our core objectives. For example, this is our core objective. let's suppose one of the core objective is कि we have to increase our military power. Second objective is we have to somehow find to try out a solution with our neighbors, specifically with Pakistan. Now we are enhancing our foreign policy in different directions, but these are our two core objectives. So any strategic success of the government will depend that whether whatever we are doing with respect to this, with respect to this, with respect to this, are these things increasing our options to solve these two core concerns of ours? If not, then what is the use of this thing? Because these are, peripheral issues, okay, but these are our core issues. Fine, this we have to understand. Okay, be clear. Oh, eraser is not working anyway. So now he's saying that the first core component of having options is raw capability. Okay, with respect to raw capability means that hard power, military power. Okay, and with respect to military power, as we discussed in the Hindu editorial, that the kind of attacks, increasing attacks, right from the Pathankot, Uri, and then Sunjuan attack, we are saying that we are not able to provide enough fortification to our military bases or military, critical installations. Fine. So these attacks, they shows that how vulnerable our perimeter security is, right? This is our core concern. The military modernization program seems to be still in the phase of arming without aiming. Okay, we are having grand talks on defense production, that we have allowed private sector entry into defense production up to a certain extent. Okay, I guess it's 49% or something like that. You can just just clear it out. We are trying to give entry to the private sector with respect to the manufacturing in defense, but this is all in talks. Okay, and with years defense expenditure in real terms, if we say, okay, it has been falling. So it's only in the fourth year that the present government, it has finally approved a buying of assault and sniper rifles. Okay, so definitely, and as we can see the situation in Jammu and Kashmir, fine. One after other, the terrorist attacks are taking place. So definitely, India's raw hard power capabilities still constrain options. Okay, we are still lagging behind. Now, the second component of having more options, our core concept is new partnerships and alliances. The issue is that although India is successful in engaging with West Asia, with Japan, with Australia, fine, but our concerns, regarding this, our neighbors, they are not fulfilled. Okay, these initiatives do not, for the most part, help mitigate India's core vulnerabilities. It's not clear that these initiatives are enough to get Pakistan to change its behavior or secure our long-term objectives in relation to China. Fine, because and these should be our core concern, but we are not able to handle it. We are not able to still to date get a border solution with respect to China. Then we are not able to find a solution. In fact, we are not even on the level of dialogue process with Pakistan. Although our national security advisors of both the countries are engaging with each other, but the kind of public hue cry is that we don't have to engage with Pakistan at any cost. And yesterday only, it was said that we have to teach and we have to make aware our people that war is not the option, and it will lead to more destruction on both sides. Fine. So we are not having solution on these two core concerns with respect to our this neighbors, specifically China and Pakistan, and with respect to our enhancement of military capabilities. Fine. Although this is a new term coined by US, Indo-Pacific, and it's like as US, it claim India to be a net security provider in the Indo-Pacific region. And whenever we hear this term, okay, Indo-Pacific, we are like, we we people, use are in a, basically in a mood of doing chest thumping, and we praise ourselves a lot. But the thing is that, I mean, the idea is that merely by creating a new maritime nomenclature, it's just a new nomenclature. The term was earlier Asia Pacific, which is now being, newly framed as Indo Pacific. Okay, that flatters us. We will somehow outgrow the real strategic dilemmas that face us vis-a-vis China and Pakistan. So the thing is that we have to focus on these two issues. And no doubt it's good that India is deepening its, engagement right from Seychelles to Maldives. Okay, to face China and Pakistan. It's a good thing, and India is trying to acquire new docking capabilities and logistical support up till Oman. But with what was and what interventions, what military objectives will these achieve? I mean, yes, we are trying to increase our docking capabilities right from here to here. Fine. But I mean, these capabilities that we are increasing, for what it is? What is the aim when it is not fulfilling our core concern? So the issue is from Doklam to Kashmir. Fine, from Maldives to Nepal. India has been rudely reminded about how easy it is to put in a helpless position in its own neighborhood. Why helpless? I mean, why India is considered helpless with respect to its neighbors? Because we have seen that there is still no solution to the Doklam issue. Fine, there is still no solution with respect to the Kashmir issue. India is not intervening in the Maldives crisis, and right now the government in Maldives is pro-Chinese. India cannot intervene into Nepal, and we have seen the kind of treatment India got after the Madhesi's crisis and all. So all these things, they put India into a, helpless situation in its neighborhood. Fine. And in relation to almost all neighbors, with the possible exception of Bangladesh, India's diplomatic, moral, and coercive authority stands diminished. Even the coercive one. Okay. For example, in Nepal, we have seen that how, with respect to Madhesis, India was called as that India is trying to intervene within the constitution making process. Then, this with respect to Maldives, then India is not able to exercise any leadership in the Rohingya crisis. So, and above all, our strategy towards Pakistan is stuttering. We are not having any strategy with respect to Pakistan. Okay, so um, for one thing, it will lead to Pakistan turning the India in and provoking an Indian response. Okay, fine. These lines are basically with respect to the Trump saying that we will put sanctions on Pakistan if Pakistan will not, mend its ways with respect to the kind of treatment it's giving to the terrorist outfits and all. So they're saying that, we are not sure about the other outcomes, but yes, it will be sure that it will lead, Pakistan to get more isolated from India. Fine, to get close to China, and in fact the Russia-China axis, which we can see. And it will also, provoke Pakistan to, increase the kind of terrorist attacks in this Jammu and Kashmir, and provoke an Indian response. Fine, so that this Kashmir crisis, it can be put in this spotlight, and whatever the sanctions US is trying to put on this Pakistan, if even if no, I'm not sure, but I don't think it will be there. Any sort of sanctions will be there in any case. It's not possible. So, and basically, it will increase Pakistan's intentions to provoke India more on the Kashmir crisis. And after surgical strikes, we said that, it would act as a deterrent. But we have seen that it turned out to be virtually useless, because we have seen that soon after the surgical strikes, number of terrorist attacks have basically increased, and the number of militants and the militant attacks has also increased. So, even if you intend to exercise military options, they have to be embedded in a political strategy. I mean, if even if India tries to engage with respect to the on the front of military option with Pakistan, then those military options, they cannot be all alone or in isolation. They need some sort of political strategy or political wrapping. Fine. So, is there a political strategy on Pakistan at all, or is it all bluster covering up a great floundering? What he's trying to say, that the kind of, the highlights that the media is making, for example, a prime minister visiting West Asia, and this is Act East, Act West, and all these things, it is just, a veil to create, just to create a veil so that our fallouts with respect to the strategy on Pakistan or on China or on military, modernization and all, this can be covered up. Okay, so it is basically a cover up. Now next they are saying, but the net result is that we are, and right now we are more cornered by China than we were a few years ago. China, Russia, Pakistan axis can also be seen. Pakistan and China are engaging into military drills. Now Russia has also engaged itself. So have India's strategic options in dealing with its core challenges expanded, or have they diminished? This is the question. Fine. The vigor of Modi's travels can barely disguise the fact. The vigor of Modi's travels can barely disguise the fact that in terms of India's security objectives, he is looking very weak indeed. Fine. So the thing is that although we are having high profile visits and we are going on foreign visits, but the thing is that just because we are not able to provide enough security to our core concerns, then this is showing, India as a very weak candidate, and this is showing that how weak our government is while dealing with all these issues. This is entirely a criticism of India's foreign policy right now.